the Sultan of Swat, the King of Crash, the Colossus of Clout, the Great Bambino. These are just a few of the nicknames for George Herman Babe Ruth. The Babe terrorized Major League Baseball for 22 seasons, accumulating 714 home runs, 2,214 RBIs, and a lifetime batting average of .342. If those numbers are too old school for you, how does 182 wins above replacement and a career 1.164 OPS sound? But the Babe is remembered almost as much for his exploits off the field as his performance on it. His drinking, womanizing, larger-than-life personality all contributed to the legend that is Babe Ruth. As the ghost of Ruth says in one of the Sandlot's most quotable scenes, remember, kid, there's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered, but legends never die. I'm Jake Storielli, and this is Laughs from the Past.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Laughs from the Past, Season 6, Baseball's Greatest Legends and Tales, Episode 5, The Legend of Babe Ruth. My name's Jimmy, and I have my co-host Jake, who read that fabulous intro for you, and he did it in one take. Just joking. I'll probably put a mashup of the outtakes at the end of this episode for you guys to enjoy.
John, we've been podcasting now as like a career for what? Two years?
I'd say 2 full years.
I don't think I've lost a battle with a word like that in that time period.
I do every now and then, but that's a common word.
I use, like, that's a frequently used word.
Contributed.
I think I got lost in that voice, and I kept wanting to go, con, and it just didn't work. That was tough.
Yeah, you got beat up.
Babe Ruth would be so disappointed in me.
Heroes get remembered, legends never die. And what you did in the introduction was probably neither.
No. Ideally forgettable. Probably will have some people remind me of it.
Can we dive into that quote real quick? Heroes get remembered, legends never die. Can you tell me like a hero who's remembered, and then can you compare that to a legend who hasn't died?
Okay, so a legend. The first name that popped into my head was like Elvis Presley.
I had him as the first legend that popped into my head as well.
That's nuts.
I don't know if that's correct or we're both idiots.
Yeah, I guess legendary. Elvis. That's
the other person I had was Abe Lincoln.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I almost don't have him in either of those categories.
That man's a hero.
Who's a hero? What's Zorro for you?
Abraham
Hero
Lincoln got shot and died, but he freed the slaves, so they put him on the 5. That's a Too Short song called Money in the Ghetto.
I'm going to Google who's a famous hero, so FBI will be coming for me soon.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Who's a famous
I got
hero?
like a terrible pop culture article.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a pop culture article that was like celebrities that did something nice. It's like Ryan Gosling saved a woman in Manhattan traffic. So that Google search it kind of went like my normal Google search would go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What about Kyle Carpenter? He's a hero.
Kyle Carpenter. Is that
he jumped on the
American
grenade.
Sniper?
No. Who's
that? That guy's probably an American hero, right?
Oh wait, is that Kyle Carpenter? I don't know. This is a tough segment. No, Kyle Carpenter's the one that jumped on the grenade.
Okay.
Chris Kyle is American Sniper.
Chris Kyle and Kyle Gass is Tenacious D.
And those are 3 heroes.
3 heroes of mine.
Yeah. All right. Well, the hero or the legend we're talking about today is Babe Ruth. And true story, when I was a kid, I thought Babe Ruth was fiction. I thought he was Santa Claus, Easter Bunny. Like, I thought it was baseball's version of that.
And I mean, maybe that's where we got away from here, but I don't know. You're absolutely right. When you're taught about Babe Ruth, the name seems fake. I mean, 4 letters in both names, and Babe's not like a real name. Yeah, I mean, if this was Family Feud style, I think Elvis and Babe Ruth would be my first 2 like legends.
Mm-hmm. Madonna?
I don't have her as a legend. I mean, she's a hero of mine, but not a legend.
What if I just did like American legends?
Like maybe like Muhammad Ali's probably up there, right?
Yeah, he's pretty controversial. I mean, so is Elvis at the times as well.
Is a legend like, I don't know, the recurring theme that I have going for these people is like there's still people that argue that like Babe Ruth's the best to ever do it.
Yes.
And in football and basketball, it's always changing. Like you look
Michael
at
Jordan?
Jerry West and what he was doing compared to Michael Jordan and LeBron. I think we're getting close to that, but like also LeBron's really good, and I also think there's something there that I don't know. In 20 years, I think it's like LeBron is just MJ for kids, and that it becomes cyclical a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Elvis is up there, all-time music and performer. Like, people could argue that. I don't know. I'm a little lost.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't have dove into this quote. Because now I'm trying to Google, like, who's a living legend. And it's not coming up with anything worthwhile.
Well, what I was going to say was...
It's all a bunch of Hollywood giving me some stupid, like, Hollywood hogwash. Like Jerry Lewis.
Right?
And Stan Lee. And it's like, those aren't legends. We just upsetted people, but... They're just
could be
old
people's
people.
heroes.
These are just old people that were successful in the film industry.
R.I.P. Stan Lee. Yeah, I don't know. Like what I was saying that I couldn't get the words out is that people would argue that like Babe Ruth could be the best player today. People would argue that Muhammad Ali would be the best boxer today. People could argue that Elvis Presley would be the best musician performer today. So I guess that's my standard. So I'm trying to think of other people like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Gandhi.
God. Mohandas.
Let's dive into this story. As you know,
Let's
here,
talk about Babe Ruth.
Season 6, we've got a team of producers, Lucas O'Brien, Jared Gott, Joe Webster, and Sam Deutsch, and this episode was written by Sam. So let's dive in. We're going to find out a little bit about Babe Ruth. We have the origin story, the Yankee years, and the off-the-field exploits. Are we ready? 1, 2, 3. Babe Ruth was born George Herman Ruth on February 6th, 1895, born in the 1800s, to George Ruth and Catherine Schamberger. That's a fun name. Imagine if he took his mom's name and the best baseball player of all time was Babe Schamberger.
George Schamberger.
George Schamberger. He was born in Baltimore, Maryland, with his father working long hours in his saloon and his mother often in poor health. Oh, my God. They always take me by shock when they just throw those things.
Yeah, you got.
I was ready for that sentence to be like his father working long hours in the saloon, and his mother taking care of the family was like in poor health. That's her one identifier.
Yeah, to be fair, that was pretty early in the story.
Little George spent his days unsupervised on the waterfront streets and docks, committing petty theft and vandalism. Hanging out in his father's bar, he stole money from the till, drained the last drops from old beer glasses, and developed a taste for chewing tobacco. He was only 6 years old. Looking back on my boyhood, I honestly don't remember being aware of the difference between right and wrong, Ruth would later write in his autobiography. I will say this. If I've never read Babe Ruth's autobiography, but I guarantee it's a fucking load of shit.
Yeah.
There's a reason autobiography shouldn't be written. And it's because guys like Babe Ruth are going to say dumb stuff.
I'm at a weird push-pull right now because I'm trying to go back to I mean, we're talking about 6-year-old Babe Ruth, so we're talking 1901. His mom apparently is very sick and not tending to him.
Only thing we know about her.
His dad's in the saloon, so he probably doesn't really care what little George is and little George is doing. And if we go back to old stereotypes, fathers weren't, the warmest, bubbliest people then. So, I mean, do I have an image right now of 6-year-old Babe Ruth having a little bit of beer and throwing in chewing tobacco? I guess so.
Well, check out this next line.
Yeah.
Shortly after his 7th birthday, the Ruths petitioned the Baltimore courts to declare little George incorrigible and sent him to live at St. Mary's Industrial School, a home for orphans on the outskirts of the city. Talk about fucking fucked upness. Like, you're such bad parents that you have to go to the courthouse and plead that your son is so terrible. Well, it's like, take a look in the mirror. You raised him. So they send him to the orphanage? It's fucked up.
A lot of moving parts right now.
It's a sad opening to a story.
Yeah.
So his mom's sick at home and his dad's at a bar all day. And he turned out to be not the best 6-year-old. Duh. After several attempted family reconciliations, his long-term residence at St. Mary's began in 1904. It was during that day at St. Mary's that George met Brother Matthias. Brother Matthias spent many afternoons tossing a worn-out baseball in the air and swatting it out to the boys. Oh, he's hitting it to him. Little George watched, bug-eyed. I had never seen anything like that in my life, Ruth recalled. I think I was born as a hitter the first day I ever saw him hit a baseball. The impressionable youngster imitated Matthias' hitting style, gripping the bat tightly down the knobbed end and taking a big swing at the ball. It's everyone's hitting style. It's literally every hitting style, as well as his way of running with quick, tiny steps.
I mean, this is a choke up the bat generation, man. It's pepper. It's put the ball in play.
Yeah, okay. As well as his way of running with quick, tiny steps. That's where Babe got that from. If anyone's not a real baseball fan that listens to this because you just like history and stories, Babe Ruth ran like a little weirdo. So.
Yeah, that was a bizarre thing for me because I've obviously seen a lot of the same Babe Ruth footage that you have and probably a lot of the people listening have. And you kind of see it and you're just like, oh, you tie it into the old-timey video. But then you watch it again and you're like, people don't run like that.
No, Babe Ruth just like shuffled his butt around the bases.
It's really odd. It's arguably not running.
Brother Matthias became a positive role model for George Jr. Damn. And helped refine his baseball skills, working tirelessly with him on hitting, fielding, and pitching skills. Little George became so good at baseball that the brothers invited Jack Dunn, owner of the Baltimore Orioles, to come watch him play. What the fuck? He's still in an orphanage. Dunn was obviously... So what? Brother Matthias has a hookup with the owner of the Baltimore Orioles. He sends him a telegram like, hey, I got this orphan at my orphanage. You need to see him play. And the owner says, I'll be right there. Weird times, Jake.
I mean, hey, we love Brother Matthias. Just playing baseball with orphans all day. I mean, there's a hero right there. How about that? A hero made the legend. But
so wait, he's 19 years old? What's 1914 minus 1895? 19. So, I mean, I've got my 1900s all wrong. Babe was still in the orphanage at 19 years old? Like, they were working. It was the Industrial Revolution. They were working at, 9 years old. It sounds like Babe was kind of a slacker.
Feels like there's a connect the dot we're missing. Or maybe they were like... maybe they had the kids working, or maybe it was just maintaining the facility, and then Babe started getting so good that everyone was like, yo, I think Babe's the ticket, man.
I don't understand any of this paragraph. The next thing it says is Dunn was obviously impressed as he offered a contract to Ruth in February of 1914 after watching him for less than an hour. What's going on? Since little George was only 19 at the time, I mean, only 19 in the year 1914. I mean, you're
Right.
halfway through life. Dunn had to become George's legal guardian in order to complete the contract. So, what the fuck, Jake? So, Babe's in an orphanage till 19. And the orphanage calls, I can't stress this enough. He just called the owner of the Baltimore Orioles, like, hey, I got a kid you got to come see. It's like, why is he still in your orphanage? He's 19 years old. Shouldn't he be out working? Just come look at him. Okay, I'm on my way, brother Matthias. Okay, I'm going to sign him to a contract. But wait, you also have to become his legal guardian. Well, that is stupid because I own a baseball team. I don't have to become his dad. No, that's the only way. So now Dunn is his dad and his boss.
Dad owner. Yeah, the only thing I have going through my head, and I'm tiptoeing some racial stuff here, but I mean, isn't this? I mean, I'm turning back the clock, but isn't this kind of like the baseball basketball comparison? Like this is, baseball was the sport kids played in the street. Kids played this at the orphanage. And nowadays I think what's viewed as the quote unquote poor man's sport growing up in the country is basketball, because you could pick up a basketball and play anywhere across the country. And now we've seen things like AAU and stuff pick up like that. But I mean, people used to recruit from literally the schoolyards.
Yeah, but it's just everything doesn't make sense.
Yeah, the 19-year-old owner dad thing, I'll give you, is pretty odd. I'm thinking this again, like baseball scouting and recruiting wasn't what it was today. So I think if there was
today you don't go to an orphanage for an hour and then sign him and then also become his dad. That's not happening.
Exactly. That's 1,000% true. But yeah, I don't know, is a hot tip, and we probably have a connection between Brother Matthias and the owner that is not listed here.
Upon seeing Ruth hit for the first time, the Orioles players referred to him as Jack's newest babe, and thus the most famous nickname in American sports history was born. Thereafter, George Herman Ruth Jr. was known as the Babe. It's kind of cool. I didn't know that, to be honest.
It's good.
Babe signed with the Orioles as a pitcher, and although he was a bumpkin with minimal social skills, Ruth quickly distinguished himself on the diamond. That spring, the Orioles played several major league teams. In 2 outings against the Phillies, Ruth faced 29 batters and allowed only 6 hits and 2 earned runs. The next week, he threw a complete game victory over the Philadelphia Athletics, winners of 3 of the last 4 World Series. Short on cash that summer, Dunn sold Ruth to the Red Sox. I mean, you just fucking sold your kid.
Yeah.
You're his legal guardian, Dunn.
I feel like the father-son connection never got too strong there. Hey, talk about a savvy businessman. Signs this kid from the orphanage after seeing him for an hour, trades him away for some money a couple weeks later. I mean, that's business. Good business.
Also, Babe went from the orphanage to throwing a complete game victory in the MLB.
I think that's what's pretty funny.
The same year, Jake?
Yeah, because you and I we're well entrenched in the game of baseball now, and I think some of our listeners are, but some aren't. Baseball is an odd sport because normally if you're really good at college football, there's a good chance you're going to be really good at pro football. If you're really good at college basketball, you're going to be really good at pro basketball. Baseball, there's this gap, and it gets weird, and you could be the best prospect ever, and a lot of times you're going to come up and struggle. So there is some different times, and the Babe Ruth legend going on that he was playing against orphans and then striking out the defending world champions casually.
Yeah, like the thing about the 13-year-old orphan that was playing against 19-year-old Babe, who like didn't age out of being an orphan for some reason.
It's tough.
Babe became a permanent fixture in the Red Sox rotation in 1915. We're 1 year out of the orphanage, accumulating an 18-8 record with an ERA of 2.44. He followed up his successful first season with a 23-12 campaign in 1916. He led the league in ERA. In 1917, he had another winning season and a 2.01 ERA. And a staggering 35 complete games in 38 starts. Holy shit, that's incredible. However, By that time, Babe had displayed enormous power in his limited plate appearances, so it was decided his bat was too good to be left out of the lineup on a daily basis. As a result, in 1918, the transition began to turn Babe into an everyday player. That year, he tied for the Major League lead in home runs with 11, and followed that up by setting a single-season home run record of 29 dingers in 1919. Little did he know that the 1919 season would be his last with Boston. Though Babe was an incredible player on the field, off of it he was a headache to management. Ruth constantly argued with umpires and was prone to performance slumps because of his excessive partying. You know, you can leave the orphanage, but the orphanage don't leave you. I feel bad saying that. I felt bad about that. If we have any orphans listening, I'm sorry.
Yeah, not great. Yeah, and this is when I began to slaughter the intro earlier. I wanted to mention Babe Ruth's pitching because, again, that was his ticket. That's how he got out. It wasn't because he could hit. And he was a really good pitcher, and I know that's if you hear the legend of Babe Ruth, someone throws that out casually pretty early, but no, like really good. like could have been an incredible pitcher. And again, it kind of goes back to this weird world of like, okay, why didn't they let Babe Ruth hit and pitch? Like, there's still this stigma around it in baseball that's really absurd to me.
I have a caveat.
Okay.
I think he wouldn't have been a good long haul pitcher because you can get fat and be a slob and play right field and hit, but pitch, that's 9 innings, grueling, and like he was getting fat.
I mean, it's the legend of Babe. I mean, you can be a fat pitcher. I think I don't know. Yeah, maybe his career wouldn't have ended the same, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, just so wild that the guy we're calling a legend and, you know, changed the game of hitting a baseball is all because brother Matthias used to hold the knob of the bat.
Yep. I'm dying.
What's
Babe's
going on
brash
over
coughing fit. Babe's brashness and his hot temper as a pitcher in Boston led to one of the more unusual and obscure occurrences in baseball history. Have you heard this one? On June 23rd, 1917, facing the Washington Senators, Ruth took part in pitching a combined no-hitter, though he did not retire a single batter. After walking the leadoff man, second baseman Ray Morgan, Ruth began jawing with the umpire, Brick Owens. According to the Boston Globe, Ruth thought the umpire had missed 2 strikes during the at-bat and told him to open your eyes and keep them open. After the ump threatened to eject Ruth if he didn't be quiet and get back to pitching, Ruth yelled, "You run me out and I will come in and bust you on the nose." Sure enough, Ruth was ejected, and a man of his word. He rushed Owens and began swinging. After striking the umpire in the ear, Ruth had to be removed from the field by the police. After the ejection, teammate Ernie Shore came in relief, picked off one of Ruth's runners, and then retired 26 consecutive batters. Ruth got off lightly with a 10-day suspension and a $100 fine and recorded a combined no-no. He was a showman, man. Man of his word.
Hey, shout out to Ernie Shore, who that's one of the number 1 rules of baseball. If you come in as a relief pitcher and there was just some chaos on the field, the last thing they expect is the pickoff.
Yep.
Ernie Shore gets the pickoff. That's some baseball 101 right there. Yeah, and it's again, maybe this ties into the legend conversation later, but you know, it would be tough for Babe Ruth to be legendary if he attacked an umpire nowadays.
Ernie Shore was a tall dude. He's taller than Babe.
Wow.
Yeah. Old school baseball pictures are awesome. This catcher's wearing terrible pads. Okay, back to the story. On December 26, 1919, in the midst of a contract dispute in which Ruth threatened to retire and take up boxing, yeah, I'll just go box, the Babe was sold from the Red Sox to the New York Yankees, and the two teams would never be the same again. We've now moved on to part 2 of the story, Jake. Babe as a Yankee.
I've got a question.
Yes, all ears.
Boston and New York are pretty big sports rivals.
Yeah.
Yankees, Red Sox, the Northeast. I mean, I grew up my life in Connecticut around lunch tables of people arguing sports. I wish the Knicks had more of a fight, but any New York, Boston sports contest has a little more chutzpah to it. Giants, Pats.
Mm-hmm.
Is it all because of Babe Ruth?
No. It's just proximity rivals. I think there was a rivalry between the teams before Babe Ruth.
You think so? Because that's not the vibe I'm currently getting. Otherwise, like, why would they casually sell Babe Ruth to the Yankees?
Because he was a dumb owner.
Right, but even if you're a dumb owner, like that's what I think rivalries kind of hadn't started yet. Like we just talked about the Philadelphia Athletics had won 3 of 4 titles. Like I'm thinking Babe Ruth is the root of Boston and New York, like not liking each other.
Yeah, no, I just think it's proximity. Like I think the two closest cities are.
But I mean,
rivals.
think about proximity. New York and Baltimore are close. New York and Philadelphia are close.
Yeah. The Mets and Phillies are rivals.
Right, but I'm saying like the Yankees and the Philadelphia Athletics. Like I'm bringing this back further.
They were in different leagues.
Yankees and Baltimore.
I think they've been rivals over time, but I think the Orioles weren't good enough. The Red Sox were always like pesky.
I don't know. I think there's something there. You haven't dissuaded my hypothesis yet.
Let's see. The Yankees were known as the Baltimore Orioles, and they would that's when the rivalry started with the Red Sox. That's what it says here. The game was marked by a fight. So when the Baltimore Orioles became the New York Highlanders, which is really the Yankees, they changed the name. They played the Red Sox, and there was a fight in the first game. And then Boston would win the pennant. And later in the season, there was another fight. Yeah, so it was already a rivalry. They hated each other before Babe was even came. Yeah.
Yeah, not buying it. Go on.
Okay.
Like my narrative.
After becoming a New York Yankee, Babe dominated the game, amassing numbers that had never been seen before. He changed baseball from a grinded-out style to one of power and high-scoring games. He rewrote the record books, combining a high batting average with unbelievable power. In 1920, he bested the home run record he set in 1919 by belting a staggering 54 home runs, a season in which no other player hit more than 19, and only one team hit more than Babe did individually. Like, steroids didn't exist back then.
Yeah.
What were they like? Because if this happens now, they'd be like, that dude's on steroids. Like, no one's that better than the rest. I wonder what accusations of cheating were thrown Ruth's way when this was happening. I would love to ask a baseball historian, like, if there was any of that.
And not for nothing, I feel like in one of the baseball movies, I'm thinking of Happy Gilmore. There's the scene where Shooter McGavin is practicing doing the Happy Gilmore because he's like, how the hell is he doing this? How was every baseball player not looking at Babe Ruth and being like, I got to do that?
Maybe some tried, but some thought it was a gimmick because he struck out a good amount, but all his numbers were still phenomenal. Yeah. And if anyone doesn't know, baseball was very much you chopped down at the ball to try and bounce it past the infield. Like hitting it in the air was considered bad. You wanted to hit it on a line or like a Baltimore chop. Not Baltimore chop, but a hard grounder. Babe was one of the first guys to be like, I'm going to swing high.
Yeah.
For it to go far. In 1921, he broke his record again and hit 59 home runs and slugged .846. If you're not familiar with numbers, that's incredible. Babe was officially a superstar and enjoyed a popularity never seen before in professional baseball. With Babe leading the way, the Yankees became the most recognizable and dominant team in baseball, setting attendance records along the way. When the Yankees moved to a new stadium in 1923, it was approximately dubbed the house that Ruth built. And his $80,000 a year salary exceeded that of President Herbert Hoover. When asked about earning more than the commander-in-chief, Ruth responded, hell, I had a better year than he did. Which is true. Hoover Hoover kind of led us into the Depression.
Yeah.
Hoovervilles. That's what they called the place.
The shanty towns.
The shanty towns, yeah. And then they named the vacuums after him because he sucked so much. I made that part up.
Yeah.
Babe's mythical stature grew even more in 1927 when, as a member of Murderers Row, he set a new home run record of 60, a record that would stand for 34 years. During his time with the Yankees, Babe ignited the greatest dynasty in all of American sport. Prior to his arrival, the Yankees had never won a title of any kind. After joining the Yankees prior to the 1920 season, Babe helped the Yankees capture 7 pennants and 4 World Series titles. In 1927, the 1927 team is still considered by many to be the greatest in baseball history. Ruth made his final trip to the World Series in 1932, where he faced the Chicago Cubs. It was in the 3rd game of the series that Ruth took part in one of the most legendary moments in all of sports history. This is when he supposedly called his shot, and we actually have an entire episode on this very podcast about that incident, and if he really did call a shot. Season 3 was Historical Mysteries, and it was the mystery of did Ruth call a shot or not call a shot. So if you're interested, go listen to that episode after you're done with this one, because there's more Babe stories in there, and they're just fucking wild. Let's see. I'm going to skip some of that to move on. After Ruth's production would diminish as he got older and more out of shape, eventually the Yankees sold his contract to the Boston Braves, where he'd serve as a player assistant manager for 1 season. Upon retiring from the Braves in 1935, Babe held an astonishing 56 major league records at the time, including the most revered record in baseball, 714 home runs. And for if you don't know, Babe really wanted to be a manager, but no one would give him that because they didn't think he was smart. And I kind of lean with them, Jake. Every story you hear, it doesn't scream that guy would be a good manager.
And I mean, think about the time period again where teams and just anything from this time period, you would do anything gimmicky to try to make money. And like the fact that pretty much every team was like, hey, we're good, Babe. Like yeah. That kind of shows it. And yeah, just legend hero where we started. I think a couple names popped up to me when we were doing that because I think I'm finding more of my guidelines. And the 2 names I thought of were, well, there's a couple names in golf. The current one would be Tiger Woods. I mean, Tiger Woods is kind of a legend. Another guy with an incredible name in hindsight goes by Tiger Woods.
I think it's really hard to don a legend from your generation because you watched the downfall. Like we've seen the downfall. We've seen the humanizing moments of Tiger Woods' life. And I'm sure people from Babes, they saw him get bad and then go to the Baltimore Braves and kind of they told him he could be player manager, but they were just fucking around. He was just like to sell tickets. And I think maybe even then they'd be like, Babe kind of washed out. So I think maybe like in 40 years, our kids will talk about Tiger Woods the way we're talking about Babe. But for me, I just think about all the bad shit with Tiger now.
Yeah, and maybe that's there. I mean, Tiger Woods, I mean, Babe, you have like the orphanage type stuff in his background. I mean, Tiger Woods broke down barriers in golf for African Americans. I mean, there were some before him, but I mean, he blew the lid off, so I think there's something there. And the other name in sports, because that's the only world I live in, is Wayne Gretzky.
Oh, yeah. Because when you said like Babe held 56 records, like Gretzky holds like 100 records in the NHL.
Yep.
Still. In 1936, the Baseball Hall of Fame was inaugurated, and Babe was elected as one of its first 5 inductees. During the fall of 1946, it was discovered that Babe had a malignant tumor on his neck, and his health began to deteriorate quickly. On June 13, 1948, his jersey number 3 was retired by the Yankees during his last appearance at Yankee Stadium. Babe lost his battle with cancer on August 16, 1948. His body lay in repose in Yankee Stadium, with his funeral 2 days later at St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York. In all, over 100,000 people lined up and paid their respects to the Babe. There's also a video out there when it was like Lou Gehrig Day, And or some speech, Babe Ruth made a speech and his voice sounded like this.
There's been so many lovely things said about me, and I'm glad that I've had the opportunity to thank everybody.
It was old. My grandma met him when he was at that stage in his life. Got his autograph. And then the maid threw it away.
Damn it, maid.
But yeah, he's talking like this. He was really skinny. It's kind of sad videos. You know how bad his health was.
Babe lived hard, he lived fast.
Yeah. Do you know there's a lot of allegations that he was part African American himself?
I haven't heard him.
Yeah. There was a book Dennis Lehane wrote, and Babe Ruth is a part of it. And he made up a nickname for Babe Ruth that's fictional, and it was just Gidge. And it was a young Babe Ruth in this book. Dennis Lehane wrote Mystic River and Shutter Island and The Drop and a lot of World Gone By. But they just call him Gidge. And I Googled it. And I was like, is that a real nickname or did Dennis Lehane make this up? He made it up. But that's kind of a cool nickname. Gidge. Maybe I'll call you that.
How about that?
Yeah. But it was young Babe because he got old. He got so fat. And he died. Are you ready for part 3?
Think so.
This is where I think we should find the fun stuff. Though Ruth is surely remembered for his incredible on-field accomplishments, his antics after hours have helped play a part in his legacy. He is remembered as one of the first celebrity athletes, becoming a frequent feature in the New York tabloids and even starring as himself in several Hollywood films. Ruth certainly enjoyed the pleasures of wealth and fame, often to the point of excess. One such indulgence was a thrill for speed. Ruth liked to purchase customized, powerful automobiles and then promptly wreck them or get caught for speeding. He routinely ignored stoplights and traffic signals on the drive from his home at the Astoria Hotel to the Polo Grounds, but police usually let him go with a smile. On July 20th, 1920, however, throwing caution to the wind nearly cost Ruth his life. Taking his newest car on a Yankee road trip to Philadelphia and Washington, Ruth was driving late one night just outside rural Wawa, Pennsylvania, and his first wife, Helen, and 3 friends when he sped dangerously around a curve. The car skidded out of control, and as the machine went off the road, Helen and Coach Charlie O'Leary were thrown clear as it flipped over. Crawling from the wreck, Ruth found his wife in fine health, but O'Leary looking unconscious and dead. "Oh, God, bring Charlie back. I didn't mean it," Babe cried. No one was there to hear that, so you can't give me that quote as if it's a real quote. I hate when history writers do that.
Well, I mean, there's wife and there's other people in the accident, right?
Yeah, it's just, I bet Babe was like, I said, "Oh, God, bring Charlie back. I didn't mean it," but no one actually, we can't confirm. It's too perfect. Babe, that's just my personal gripe. Not with that specific quote. Just when no one knows. No one was recording this. There's no reporters there. Babe cried, and O'Leary did, in fact, turn out to be okay. The car was another story, and after walking to a nearby farm and spending the night, the group returned to the crash site accompanied by a mechanic. "Sell it," Ruth supposedly said of the wreck. "Take whatever you can get for it. I'm through with it." Yeah, well, you just crashed it.
Yeah, a couple things here. So, Babe Ruth walking into your farm at midnight, that feels like an amazing episode of a TV show or something.
Some Twilight Zone shit.
Yeah, that's pretty unreal. And I'm going to spin it back to, another name that just popped into my head was Alex Ovechkin, who's going to be a legend for some hockey people because he's got some of these driving things. And I think it ties into Tiger Woods a little bit too, that maybe these legends do have kind of that dark, relatable kind of, I don't want to say bad side to them, but kind of a bad side where I don't know, think about how weird it is that we're almost romanticizing the fact that Ruth was like a nut job on the road and a drinker.
I'm not romanticizing it. People are. They want to, but like Ruth seemed like he was an asshole, to be honest.
Right, but we romanticize Babe Ruth. He's the Sultan of Swat, the Colossus of Clout. Like, these are, nobody's. You want to have a bad time at Yankee Stadium? Walk around and tell people that Babe Ruth was a bad guy.
Yeah, okay. I'll try it. We'll do a man on the street video. You know Babe Ruth is actually a bad guy?
Won't end well.
Do you know that the Orioles owner was his dad?
That's fun.
So let's see. Leaving the stunned mechanic and his free parts supply behind, Babe's party proceeded on to Philadelphia. Ruth reportedly killed in car crash was the headline they found in one local paper. But Babe was supposedly well enough to purchase a new version of the identical car. So one newspaper reported he died. It sold a lot of papers.
Yeah.
So many people believed that. Like, they bought that paper. They didn't talk to anyone else. They didn't listen to the baseball game, so they probably thought Babe Ruth died. Like 20 years later, when they came out of their hermit hole, they were like, no, he died.
Oh, there's people that probably died thinking that Babe Ruth was dead.
Yeah. Damn. Just 1 year later, on June 8th, 1921, Ruth was arrested in Manhattan for speeding for the second time in a month and sentenced to spend the rest of the day in jail. Released 45 minutes after the start of the day's game, Ruth put on his Yankee uniform underneath his suit and sped off with a motorcycle escort in time to play for the Yankees. That's a fun story.
It's a fun romanticizing type story, but end of the day, it's like not a good thing. But it's the legend of Babe Ruth.
He's a bad guy. In addition to his joyriding, the Babe was known for his tremendous appetite. The 1925 Ruth suffered what W.O. McGeehan of the New York Tribune famously called the bellyache heard round the world. Ruth fell ill during the Yankees spring training exhibition tour. The initial story was that Ruth had eaten too many hot dogs, and the New York Evening Journal ran a photo of Ruth with 12 numbered francs superimposed on his stomach. Good to know that reporting in newspapers in New York have always been fucking horseshit.
I've got to see this picture, because what was the superimposed hot dogs looking like in superimposed hot dogs? And what year was that?
Here, I'm looking at
1920s?
Babe Ruth and hot dogs. I Googled Babe Ruth hot dogs New York Journal. Nothing came up, though.
Yeah, I don't have it.
How does that picture not exist?
Right?
Come on.
How good are all those pictures of him wearing a cardigan and the buttons are just fighting for their life?
Yeah. He was fat.
Thick.
Come on, New York Journal. Show us that picture. Anyway. However, it was clearly more serious than indigestion. And on April... Dude, 12 hot dogs? Like, Babe Ruth's shits had to be disgusting.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. However, it was clearly more serious than indigestion, and on April 17th, Ruth had minor surgery for what doctors termed an intestinal abscess, and he did not return to the Yankees lineup until June. Several teammates hinted it might have been a sexually transmitted disease. One teammate said it wasn't a bellyache. It was something a bit lower. Oh, wow. Got the clap.
Babe Ruth STD.
Good Google. Whatever it was, it didn't... Oh, he had a big dick. Remember that picture of him swinging? That video of him swinging and his dick just swinging on his leg like that?
Yeah.
I think I have it on my Twitter. Tweeted it.
Oh, boy. I'm going to save this for the end, but...
Okay.
In July of 2014, MTV.com had an article, 5 seedy stories you didn't know about Babe Ruth's sex life. Going to leave that up.
Okay, nice. All right, let's finish this so we can get to that.
Yeah.
MTV was writing articles? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Whatever it was, it didn't cramp Ruth's style. Babe was staying out all night more often than not, and by the end of the season, he was a physical wreck. In mid-December, Ruth realized if he wanted to continue playing ball into his 30s, he needed to do something different. He showed up at Artie McGovern's Gymnasium on East 42nd Street in Manhattan. a well-known gym used by New York's rich and famous. Ruth committed himself to McGovern's strict regimen of exercise, diet, and rest. 6 weeks later, by the time he was ready to head south for spring training, Ruth had lost 44 pounds and shed almost 9 inches from his waistline.
See,
How
he
about
could have
that?
stuck as a pitcher.
Good for you, babe. Ruth,
Yeah.
however, was
How funny is it that the best baseball player of all time, midway through his career, was like, I should start working out.
Yeah. Ruth, however, was known for some more positive things off the field as well, especially his charity. While with the Red Sox, Ruth often arranged for busloads of orphans to visit his farm in Sudbury for a day-long picnic and ball game, making sure each kid left with a glove and autographed baseball. When the Red Sox were at home, Ruth would arrive at Fenway Park early on Saturday mornings to help the vendors, mostly boys in their early teens, bag peanuts for the upcoming week's games. He'd race with us to see who could bag the most, recalled Tom Foley, who was 14 years old in 1918. He'd talk a blue streak the whole time, telling us to be good boys and play baseball because there was good money in it. He thought that if we worked hard enough, we could be as good as he was, but we knew better than that. He'd stay about an hour. When we finished, he'd pull up a $20 bill and throw it on the table and say, "Have a good time, kids." We'd split it up and each go home with an extra $50 and $1 depending on how many of us there were. Babe was an angel to us. There are a lot of stories. So he would visit people in orphanages and hospitals nonstop. So there you go. Everyone's got good and bad.
Yeah, it's the relatable side. I mean, Babe Ruth's parents literally gave up on him. And he's like you said, it's the good with the bad, and it's 14-year-old Tom Foley puts it in better words than me. It's that you can be relatable and look at him and say, yeah, you could be a ball player, kid. But even 14-year-old Tom Foley was like, we knew better than that. I'm not going to be the next Babe Ruth.
Yeah, no one has. So tough. All right, things you may not know about Babe Ruth. 1. Ruth believed he was a year older than he really was for most of his life. For decades, Ruth believed that his birthday was on February 7th, 1894. However, when he applied for a passport before sailing to Japan with an all-star team of ball players after the 1934 season, he looked up his birth certificate and found his birthday listed as February 6th, 1895, nearly a full year later than he had believed. Ruth, however, continued to celebrate February 7th as his birthday and did not shave a year off his age. What?
It's tremendous.
Wouldn't you be excited to be 1 year younger?
Yeah, but he was in too deep.
Wouldn't it
he
be
was
like
rolling.
contract reasons? You're like, oh, great, I get my 30-year-old season again.
Yeah, now I'm curious to the baseball reference if they have his human age or what Babe Ruth said his age was. And by the way, I know we like, Hollywood stuff and try to bring something to life. Can we get Babe Ruth on this boat to Japan while we're playing baseball? Do we have an all-star team of baseball players on a boat to Japan just drinking and eating?
Mm-hmm.
Because, hello?
I'm Googling it now. Babe Ruth Japan tour. Yeah, it looks like he had a grand old time. Looks like he had a doozy of a time, Jake.
It's literally Babe Ruth, a bunch of all-star baseball players on a boat, and a bunch of sailors. Like, that's the script.
We got him in some Japanese garb in this picture, saying hi to some females. Lou Gehrig went, this needs to be a movie. Some cool shit had to happen. Make this a movie, Hollywood. Hollywood's so dumb sometimes. Should be a movie. Jake, do you think maybe this is what's going on with you? Maybe you were actually born in like 1993 and your parents thought you were really smart. They wanted you out of the house quicker, so they signed you up for kindergarten at like 2 years old. That's why you're so young looking and so dumb for your age?
Well, that's why I was one of the youngest in our grade. Half the grade below me was older than me. My parents were done with me. I'm a modern-day Babe Ruth to a degree.
Number 2 fact you might not have known about Babe Ruth. His father died in a fight with a family member. Ruth's father, George Herman Ruth Sr., the guy who worked at a saloon all day and then sent his son to the orphanage because he didn't have time to be a dad, owned a string of Baltimore saloons. The site of one of them is known as now Orioles Park Center Field, and was tending bar one day in August 1918 when a quarrel broke out between two of his brother-in-laws. Ruth began to argue with one of the family members and followed him onto the street where a fight ensued. Ruth fell, hit the back of his head, and died of a fractured skull. Okay.
1918.
That story wasn't interesting enough for me to care about it. It's just kind of real sad.
A little sad. What I was going to say is, should the Orioles get more shit for Babe Ruth?
For selling? Yeah, the Red Sox get much shit. That
It
dude
was
was his
Boston's
dad.
curse. It was everything. And now, I mean, his dad's bar in center field, you found him across the street. He's Baltimore, should be the king of Baltimore.
Yeah.
Orioles need to get more shit for that.
Well, he did go to the Baltimore Braves, but fun fact number 4, he made his last official Major League appearance in a Dodgers uniform. After his playing days were over, Ruth maintained his dream of managing in the big leagues. In June 1938, he was hired as a first base coach for the Brooklyn Dodgers. Ruth entertained fans by taking batting practice and appearing in exhibition games, but the struggling Dodgers used the Sultan of Swat mainly to sell tickets. When the manager's job opened for the 1939 season, the Dodgers selected Captain Leo DeRocher over Ruth, who did not return to the team. Bummer. The next fun fact. His first wife died under mysterious circumstances. Okay. So, do you think Babe killed her?
Yes.
Oh! Ruth married 16-year-old Helen Woodford after his rookie season. Okay, so he was only 19 years old. 19 and 16, not terrible. The couple adopted a daughter, likely born to one of Ruth's mistresses in 1922. Okay, casual.
Every family's got their stuff.
Within a few years, the pair separated permanently. In January 1929, faulty wiring sparked a fire that swept through a Watertown, Massachusetts house owned by a dentist named Edward Kinder and killed a woman mistakenly identified as his wife, Helen Kindler. That's a sentence that had way too much info for one sentence.
It doesn't get better.
Helen, however, was actually Ruth's estranged wife, and her true identity didn't come to light until readers and family members recognized her photograph in a Boston newspaper. The true identification of Helen Ruth came only hours before her scheduled interment. Am I going to really out myself as a dummy when I ask what an interment is? They burning her?
I'm
Embalming
guessing
her?
death?
Burial. It's when they bury the
Burial?
casket.
Okay, so Ruth marries a girl. He's 19/18 and she's 16. They adopt a daughter. It's from one of his mistresses. Sure, normal up until this point. A few years later, they separate. Ruth is on the road. Slinging it. So now we're in 1929. We've got a fire in Watertown, Mass. The dentist, Edward Kinder, and his wife die in it, Helen Kindler. Helen, however, was actually Ruth's estranged wife. So...
No. Edward Kinder didn't die.
House owned by a dentist. Okay. So Edward's fine.
So what happened here is Helen left Babe, right?
Helen Kindler and Helen Ruth are the same person, right?
Yes. She left
Gotcha.
She left Babe. They got divorced or whatever. and she went and found a dentist. And she fell in love with the dentist, and she was tagging along with the dentist. But then she kept telling her, like, my ex-husband is the most famous American known to man. He hits baseballs to the moon, and all you do is fix teeth? You're a nobody, Edward Kinder. You're lucky that I'm with you. So he killed her.
Edward Kinder, murderer.
Murdered his girlfriend, or who was Babe Ruth's wife. Allegedly, according to the story I just made up.
Yeah.
If I do a Google search on Edward Kinder, and Google search Edward Kinder dentist, and if he comes up looking like a murderer, oh, we have the original article. I don't know if he looks like a murderer. Definitely looks like a creep. Not a guy you want in Babe's shadow.
Oh, yeah.
This is nuts, man. Okay.
Fire causes death of Mrs. Babe Ruth, taken dying from house of Watertown, Mass. Known and his wife, estranged from husband. That was me reading the caps in the title. Foul play talk scouted, real identity revealed. I mean, this is Juicy Lucy.
This is the headline. Jake was just reading the headline from this 1929 newspaper. Like, the entire headline is Fire causes death of Mrs. Babe Ruth, taken dying from house of Watertown. Dentist known as his wife. Estranged from husband. Ball player goes to Boston on learning of wife's fate. Foul play talk scouted. Real identity revealed. Tells of marriage to Kinder. Mrs. Ruth died after rescue. Ruths were married in 1914. She belittled divorce reports. That's the fucking headline.
That's a headline. There's a long article. Did
they change the way headlines were written in like 1930? They're like, okay, enough of that.
I hope so. Or maybe this wasn't the headline. Maybe this is the first chunk. I don't know.
Word salad. Anyway.
I mean, this is... What's the equivalent to this? Is this Jeter having a wife that no one knew about, and then he shows up at a lady's funeral one day and says, oh, yeah, that was my wife?
Yeah, I don't know.
Odd ending.
Well, no, let's hear about the MTV article about all his sex.
Oh, I forgot about that. What a bad brain I have. Okay. Article opens with Babe wearing an awesome fur coat.
So if I Google Babe Ruth MTV sizzling, is that the word they used?
Seedy. Seedy.
I didn't know.
I
didn't know MTV was in the article game. In 2014, nonetheless, people are being paid by MTV to write articles.
So NYC hookers helped destroy his first marriage. I mean, that doesn't seem too shocking. They mention Helen Woodford there. Okay, sure. He'd round the bases all night long. Ruth brought a girl back to the hotel room he shared on the road with a teammate. The next morning, his roommate asked how many times they'd actually gotten it on. Ruth said, count the cigars. There were 7 butts.
What? I mean, this article is just a load of shit. One night, he had sex with every single prostitute in a St. Louis brothel. Every single one. That's what you do when you can't choose. I mean, well, how many were there? 5?
Yeah, I mean, there's...
Or 15?
I'm guessing 3.
Like, Ruth talked about his bat, his other bat, his dick, constantly, and used it as a measuring stick for just about everything in his life. At one party, he reportedly got on top of a piano and shouted, "Okay, girls, anyone who does not want to get fucked now can leave."
Again, like, social media might not have been great for the Babe.
Well, I mean, that was nice of him. If you don't want to have sex with me, now's your chance to leave. Anyone that stays will be having sex with me. That's
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
nope. You didn't make it. You're in. You did not make it. No, that's a bad article. That's I now know why I wasn't aware that MTV wrote articles. The one from the crazy headline. Yeah. I mean, you can't write an article that's saying Babe Ruth slept with every single prostitute in a whorehouse and not even give an offer at the number. Like, they're making it seem like it's above 10. And I guarantee you it wasn't. And I also guarantee you it's not true. So there's good things and bad things about Babe Ruth. That's where we end up here. No. No, that's not the American dream. The American dream is this is a different conversation, and maybe I'm taking it too serious. I don't consider any athlete the American dream. The American dream is about working from like the bottom of a company to the top of a company. Yeah, but like professional athletes are born with a lot of God-given talent. Because they were fucking assholes. He was just really lucky that brother Matthias was fucking the owner of the Orioles. You call my boyfriend up. Okay, now he's your dad too. Go play for the Orioles. Okay, cool. Like, I'm picturing they came to watch Babe Ruth play and he was just like throwing a ball against a wall. And they're like, I'll sign that kid. The orphanage. He was 19. I mean, you know what, though? Like, Dunn wasn't wrong. He was only the best baseball player to ever live, so it's a good call by Dunn. But the whole process seems so shoddy. Did Babe not play any organized games? Like, did he play for a league? Was the first league Babe played for Major League Baseball? And he just played sandlot games until he was 19? Well, Yogi Berra, like, played in the league. They were friends. Yeah, I was trying to see if they have the early years. St. Mary's Industrial School for Boys in Baltimore. Like, that's the team. He just played for the orphanage team. So they had organized games. But yeah, it looks like he just played for his orphanage. Like fucking house ball. Weirded me out, man. Oh, wow. They have a picture. They have it on Wikipedia. They have a picture of him. And he was the catcher. And he's really young. It's kind of weird. I've never seen a picture of him like he's like 14 years old. Interesting. All right, well, that's the story of Babe Ruth. Thanks for stopping by Laughs from the Past. He's quite the fellow. Like, this is what I think makes a legend. We just read a lot of stuff about him, and some of it's from credited sources and some of it isn't, I don't 100% believe any of it. And I think that's what makes a legend. Like, the tales are bigger than, like, believability. Who knows? You had a hot dog and a beer in between every 3 innings is like the old rumor. It's like, come on. He did that one time and one reporter saw it and he was just hungry that day. But who knows? No, that's what I'm saying. Every story lands in this area of like, well, maybe. That's what legends are. That's what legends are. All right. Thank you, guys. We'll be back next week. Thank you for listening. Leave a rating, a review, subscribe. Go watch on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We need people to subscribe there. So please go subscribe to it. Thank you. Goodbye.
From 1914 to 1918, there was a young hurler who was one of the best. Walked over myself. Timeout.
Is that the line you added?
Yeah. Yeah, that was my line. This same hurler became fuck my ass 19 to 23. The only problem, fuck, I'm just going to read the thing then. If those numbers are too old school for you, how does 182 wins above... How does 182 wins above replacement in a career 1.164 OPS sound? But the Babe is remembered almost as much for his exploits off the field. What the fuck is this? But the Babe is remembered almost as much for his exploits off the field as his performance on it. His drinking, womanizing, larger-than-life personality all contribute. Dude, I haven't read anything in a while. I'm going to go from the top. So, contributed. That's a tough word, Jake, you fucking loser. His drinking, womanizing, larger-than-life personality all contributed. His drinking, womanizing, larger-than-life personality all contributed. Contributed.
You found a new word.
Damn. His drinking, womanizing, larger-than-life personality all contributed to the legend that is Babe Ruth. As the ghost of Ruth says in one of the Sandlot's most quotable scenes, remember, kid, there's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered, but legends never die. I'm Jake Storielli, and this is Laughs from the Past.